Okay.
Good connection. No one's watching.
Excellent.
This is just how I wanted it.
Well, I did yell at them this morning about emailing me, so. Maybe they're following the rules.
No one's watching.
Excellent.
This is just how I wanted it.
Well, I did yell at them this morning about emailing me, so. Maybe they're following the rules.
I know you hate I hate too. I just posted the blog entry and it did not go up. Yeah, we're live.
Yep, you're right. Are we like that? Because it says 11 minutes.
Maybe it doesn't. No, we're live.
Oh, there it is. You just took one. Hi, Bean.
I need. Never use what people do.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. Hey, Bean, come here. Come here. You want some cuddling? You want some on-camera cuddling? You have to come on this side. Oh, no, you want the bench. Okay. Check out all the tools. That's a froe. That's a stick. That's a hammer. A hold fast. My shoulder. Yeah. Jack plane. Smoothing, or block plane. Now you know everything. And those are our questions that you're about to lie down on. Nope, you're in the mood. Yeah. You bite me on camera and I'll have proof. There will be witnesses.
Mute your phone. You got any phone calls? I guess I don't need to do this, do
I
I?
know, we'll just leave him there. We're done. He's looking cute. If we'd put his bed behind you, he'd stay there the whole time.
Okay. We'll secure Bean's bed with a hold fast. No, it's okay, buddy. Apparently it's not.
Hey, sweetie.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still got 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What are you crying about? You want cuddling, you have to come in here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to the cat.
Oh. Never mind. Bean. Sneaky bean. So when I stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little, but hold on. Let me see. If I
You
do
won't be behind the bench. You'll be all right.
I'll be smaller, won't I?
You're a little smaller, the top of your head is still, there you go, like 3 inches.
That look good? Look sexy?
Yes, well, it looks like something. I can lift the camera up and take it.
Let's not. It's fine.
You'll be leaning over, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, you're gonna ride down the low bench, right?
I might. I don't know. It's easier to do up here for me.
Well, they just won't be able to see your arms coming down.
Probably not a big deal.
Probably not.
I'm gonna go to a little editor's room.
Okay, I haven't heard that for a while.
Yeah,
That's a good idea, though.
it is.
Maybe. Oh, nice. I like it. So, that's moving up.
Yep.
And I have this in case we run out of questions, because I just got a few more.
Oh, good.
I don't get more out of questions.
I don't either, but we'll see. And of course, my ankle starts itching.
That was attractive.
Thank you.
You have water, you do.
I do. You have coffee?
I do.
All right.
I might have to leave to go Diet Coke when the coffee runs out.
Should I get rid of this?
Down the floor. It's still in frame. I can't actually see the camera from the computer from here.
You can't see the screen?
No, because I have on my reading glasses.
Oh.
Oh, well, now I can. And yes, it is still in frame.
Yeah. I checked focus. I think we're good. This is
Would
right.
you like soft focus, please? With the scrim?
Yeah, add Vaseline.
Add Vaseline.
Bean.
Come here, Bean.
Come on, Bean. Don't be a lonely boy.
What are you doing? Where are you? He was lying down on your keyboard. You just don't want to be on camera. You're going to go chew the cord.
That will completely take us offline.
Bean,
No,
don't
really,
do-
I'm serious.
Bean, don't do that.
That is empowering everything.
We should cut that tag off. That's
Yeah.
what I was going for. Is it, what time is it?
You got 2 minutes.
All right.
Grab some scissors.
Cut that tag off.
The day the cats discovered electricity. Bean was chewing on the...
Oh my God. There's like teeth marks all over this.
Yeah, he's been going at it all week. If we lose power, we probably also lost the cat.
Or me at this point.
Yeah. Maybe you should just give that to him.
Here you go.
Yes, the best cat toy is a wire label.
That's no fun if it's not attached to the wire, apparently.
We're 1 minute.
All right.
And you're leaving. Screw this!
I don't want to be on camera.
I didn't agree to this. It's not my contract.
What, I have a contract?
Nope.
Oh.
For your book, you do.
Oh, that, yes.
So, when you talk, pretend like your old time radio show. I would lean in a little bit.
Okay,
Okay.
I can do that. It's 11.
It's 11. Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. I'm Chris. This is
Megan.
And we are coming to you live from the Lost Art Press shop in Covington, Kentucky. Why are we not filming this instead of going live, do you think?
I have absolutely no idea.
Because I would edit it, and it would take me a whole day to edit it, and we're just going to do it like Roy does it, which
Yeah.
is whatever happens, happens.
Well, we're not really going to do it like Roy does.
No, we're going to do it poorly.
Poorly.
Unlike Roy.
Yes.
And I know the sound isn't great because you have to begin every live broadcast with a apology about the sound. But we'll probably get, it's just law, woman. Don't talk to me about law. And we'll probably get wireless mics at some point if this
Or not.
works. Yeah, or not. So anyway, we're going to dive right into the questions. You sent a whole bunch of them. We've kind of edited them down to the ones that we think we can handle. We're going to probably go for about an hour, I hope, or until the battery runs out on the camera, or until Bean fries himself by eating the power cord.
Or until the wings are ready at Crafts and Vines.
Yes, we'll be eating wings here safely on the back porch.
Yes. Okay, well, let's get started. This is one that came through in many various forms, so that's why I'm putting it first. What are your top X? We're going to go with 5 favorite tools.
Top X5 favorite tools.
Well, I mean, some people said 2, some people said your favorite, some people said 10, so I'm going with 5. What are your top 5?
Yeah, my jack plane, a Stanley number 5 that I've had for my whole life as a woodworker, and the 60 and a half. I mean, I don't even let them out of my sight when I'm doing a live stream. I usually have it in my pocket. 60 and a half Lee Nielsen, which I've also had since the mid 90s. You?
That's 2.
That's all I got.
Okay, well, I guess mine is the large router plane.
Large router plane?
Yes.
Okay.
I do, and I have 2 of them. I have one from Veritas and one from Lee Nielsen because I like them so much.
Wow.
Also because I loan them out during classes and I never get them back when I need them. So
Anything else?
I have an extra.
I guess that's two.
That's two.
Router plane
Two
one.
router planes. And then the small router plane. So that's three.
Okay.
And for that, I like the Lee Nielsen because it has the indents for the fingers and it feels better in the hand. On the large, I don't care which one. Let's see. My number 4, even though I hardly ever use it anymore, mostly because it is the first nice plane it was the first plane I ever bought, and it is a nice plane, and it's signed by Tom Lee Nielsen, so it's almost priceless, except that he's signed a lot of them. What else? Oh, my old school blue spruce mallet, which is an infused maple, and it's blue. I like anything blue. So
Anything blue.
Anything blue.
All right. Look who's joined us. This is Bean, the three-legged shop cat.
Is he in his bed?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's in his
course.
bed.
All right. This is definitely for you. Which domestic hardwood is most underutilized relative to its potential in furniture making? That's from Perry.
Hi, Perry. First-time caller, first-time talker. I'd say probably hickory. Shagbark hickory is an amazing wood. It splits so easily, but it's incredibly strong, like even far, far stronger than white oak. And if handled right, can look really beautiful. But it's, kind of hard to get commercially. So we have to, get it from, I get mine from tree people. I
thought you just stole it from the cemetery. No, we don't do that. Never. All right. I am planning on building the anarchist workbench. I have it all cut, but I don't have metal clamps enough to clamp together the lamination. Is there a way I can build something that is strong enough to clamp down the laminated top like you'd find in Robert Waring's book, or do I have to suck it up and buy some more clamps? That's from Jacob.
Hi, Jacob. 2 suggestions. Don't try to build a wooden fixture or with wedges and pulleys and a come along or anything like that. 2 suggestions. 1, suck it up and buy some pipe clamps. Used pipe clamps are really cheap, and you can get pipe obviously at the home center. The second thing is what I have done is screw the laminations together. So apply the glue on either side of the lamination, put them together, screw through the thickness with drywall screws, put as many as you like down the length, and pull it up as best you can. Then when that glue dries, remove the screws and then repeat. And then you can just add lamination every 30 minutes. And then you'll have to come up with some plan to add the last lamination on the outside so it isn't filled with screws. So maybe some nice crotch mahogany veneer or something.
Or you could fill those screws with some nice glitter epoxy.
Fill the screws, yeah.
Screw holes.
Screw holes, yeah. Fill the screws. Those are my 2 suggestions.
Yeah, okay. What are your thoughts on the different metals, O2, A2, PMV11, and perhaps D2, that are available for edge tools? And do you have a preference? Is there a difference in the quality and life of the edge? Asks Dave.
Hi, Dave. You can get this answer from anybody, but I guess you want to hear my take on it. My planes, they all work great. So, we're talking about a very, very tiny preference as to what makes a big difference. For final smoothing, I really like plain old high carbon steel, and I also like the PMV11. Both of those sharpen up really nicely. They hold an edge long enough for woodworking. PMV11 obviously holds an edge longer than high carbon steel, what we call O1, and so you get a little more life, but you pay a lot more. A2 is fantastic in high shock tools. So when on my jack plane or in a mortise chisel or something that's going to take a lot of shock and doesn't produce a finished surface, I like the A2. But the only time I think about it is when someone asks me this question.
Right. You have to read that one.
Okay. For Megan Fitzpatrick. Would you describe how you survive in a hostile, testosterone-driven world? We all know who your mentor is, but without necessary chops, you would not have made it. I'm largely asking because I am hoping that I can point my granddaughters to an example that does not depend on family connections or money. This is from Gordon.
Well, it absolutely depends on money because he pays me. There's 2 things I'm scared of, and that is cockroaches and failing. And I refuse to fail. So And I'm just not scared of anything. And that really, it boils down to, I refuse to give in and say that I can't do anything if it's something I want to accomplish. And that is just a personality trait pretty much. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm absolutely going to do it.
And people told you you couldn't do this.
All kinds of people, including my grandfather, said that I shouldn't be woodworking until I got pretty good. And then he said I was lucky to have learned how. And I loved my grandfather, but he had very old-fashioned ideas. And of course, he told me early on I couldn't do it. So that was one of my motivations. I don't know how to convince people who are a little more timid, other than you just have to get in there and try it. And I think that's one of the reasons so many workshops are cropping up that are women or non-gender specific or binary, because it can be intimidating to go into a shop filled with guys who all, for the most part, want to help you out, coming from a genuine place, but that doesn't really help you learn anything. And I have no problem telling them to leave me alone, but not everybody can do that. So I think that's why we have those kinds of shops.
I would also add that you're afraid of bats.
I'm not really afraid of bats. I just didn't like being bitten by one.
Okay. That's all I have to add to that. It's all you.
I'm really afraid of them.
I am just starting my journey with wood, having spent the majority of my life working in tech, but originally starting my career in design. How do you find your design language or your voice in what you create? Is it natural, a natural organic process, or is there more intent behind it? From Matthew. You want me to answer that?
Yeah. I just steal from, the shakers.
Steal from the shakers. They don't mind. I think it is a lot like music. It's a good way to compare it. If you have ever been in music, is if you start a band, you start with covers. And you learn to play the Beatles, and you learn to play the Rolling Stones, or you learn to play Moby, or whoever you idolize. And after you master that and see how it works and see how the levers work and listen to enough music to know what you like, then it's much easier to create your own. And that isn't just a copy or a synthesis of everything you've heard. Same goes with furniture. Whenever I go to a town to teach or to visit, I'm going to spend all my free time in either an antique mall or a museum that has a decorative arts wing, and just to fill my eyes and my brain with furniture. And whenever I take my camera, I take pictures. My laptop is mostly full of photos that are organized by trestle tables, 6-board chests, stick chairs, and whenever things that I like, I just put the things that I like in those folders. And then when I need to design one of those, I go to that folder and see things that I liked, and it kind of shakes my my design juices up, which is gross, but that's how it works.
I guess I do the same thing, because I see a piece that I like and then I make it do what I want it to do in the space that it needs to fit. Mm-hmm. And then I move and that furniture no longer fits, but that's okay. All right. I've gotten lost here. Page 2. Do you manage to find much time for woodworking projects that you build purely for yourselves that aren't in some way from work? And do you approach furniture projects differently when they're for you as opposed to a customer?
I don't have much time for furniture for me. As Lucy will tell you, I still owe her a lot of pieces of furniture. When I do them for myself, I only work to one level is all I can do. So same sort of care and anal retentiveness goes into everything I do. I used to have a lot more time to build stuff for the house and for, but now we get the prototypes. Our house is filled with crappy prototypes. And I just sell everything I can.
And I used to have a lot more time to build things for myself, because technically I was building them for the magazine, and that would be Popular Woodworking. We built a lot of the projects, and you did the same, that ended up in the magazine. And so then you could pick things you wanted to build and spend the time to do them. Now I build mostly tool chests, and I'm happy to build one for you if you need me to.
We said no marketing, Megan.
Oh, sorry. That wasn't marketing. That was pleading.
That was begging.
That was begging. That wasn't marketing. right. Oh, you're going to have to stand up now. I'm sorry. Could you ask Christopher to talk a little more and perhaps demonstrate splitting kiln-dried wood?
Yeah. I'm going to be talking a lot more about this in future blog entries and in a forthcoming book.
I am going to get out of the way.
Yeah, so this is a piece of white oak, and it's not ideal for splitting, but we're gonna mess with it anyway, and that's okay. What I'm looking for when I'm gonna split something that's dry is I'm gonna look at the edge grain, and the edge grain. Well, I've split that edge, but as you can see on the edge grain here, the fibers on the edge are just completely straight up and down. So when I'm at the lumber yard, the faces can be ugly as sin, but I'm going to look at those edges to find really straight grain, not where it's kind of curved out at the butt end. And then I'm going to look at the face grain with ring porous wood and see if the grain runs fairly straight. As you can see, this doesn't. This runs at an angle. That's okay if it runs at a slight angle. If it runs at a really harsh angle, things will go a little wonky. Or if it curves, as you might have seen on the blog, that there is, it will follow the curve. So,
Wait, let me get my phone out of the way too.
I hope you can still hear okay. What I do is put it up on the bench. You can use a froe. I also have a thing called a hacking knife, which looks like a big butcher's knife that's made by a blacksmith with a dull edge. It's just basically a wedge that you get in there to separate things. So, put it up on there. I like to do this with quarter sawn material mostly. This is not. This is pretty flat sawn. But I'm going to split out what I hope is a leg.
There won't be.
Thought so. But you can see they just pop off like this. And now I know that this face, this followed the grain and this followed the grain. So I can take my jack plane and jack this surface. And then that's my first reference surface, and I can work off of that to get a stick where the grain is running almost entirely through the entire piece, and that's what makes really strong parts for legs and such like that. So all I'd say is get some wood, some crap wood, and try it, and you'll get a real good feel for how it splits.
So I have a question based on what you just did. I've read in a number of places that you shouldn't hit your froe with a metal mallet. You should use a wooden one. Mm-hmm. So why'd you use a metal one? Because you don't care what the rules are.
I mean, I use a metal. I hit metal nails all the time, and I've never had a problem. I hit my holdfast for years and years with metal, and they cinch down harder. So I've never. The back of my froe is a little beat up, but it's no problem. Yeah, I just always did it this way, and then I was told I was doing it wrong. I was ashamed for years, and then I got over it. So.
Okay. Where am I? It's been some time since we learned what tools were in Chris's anarchist tool chest and who made them. With stimulus check in hand, I would like to know of any obscure tool makers of the modern day that I can spend it on.
You want to go first?
Do I have an answer?
Do you?
I don't know. I have to think about this. Oh, wait. I've always wanted one of those Walkmore tools, router planes, go figure. I think they're pretty cool because you can, this copy of, is it a Preston?
Preston, Eclipse,
yeah.
And Record made it.
Yeah. You can put I don't need to do this, but the blade can go on the end of it. And then
that's great for tenants.
Yeah, I know.
I've used one of them.
It's just cool. And I would love to have one. And they just started making them again.
I think an iron. Yeah. I'm waiting with bated breath for an awl from a guy in Germany, Matthias Fenner, Toolworks. And I will post a link to his stuff, and it's just dangerous, man. It is totally dangerous. Watch out for that. Also, if you don't know who Seth Gould is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple Seth Gould hammers. He makes nail hammers. He makes blacksmithing hammers.
He makes unbelievable locks.
Dividers, really beautiful tools. Seth Gould is
hacksaw.
Yeah, Seth Gould hacksaw.
Yeah.
A little. I have a Seth Gould problem.
You do.
Okay.
You used to have a hammer problem, so you've moved on.
I moved on.
Yeah. I didn't know about the awl.
I know. I was hiding it from you.
Develop into an awl problem.
I'm ashamed.
Okay. No, you're not. What is some of the worst advice, woodworking related, that you have received?
When I was at the magazine, I was learning to carve, and I was learning to carve spoons actually. So this is in the 90s, when everybody else was building humidors, we were trying to carve spoons, not like Yogi Sundquist. We were building, carving Celtic love spoons. And well, yeah, I know. And
I think they're cool. I just can't imagine you
doing a Celtic love spoon. Yeah. So the guy who was teaching me to carve, he set me off and said, go carve it and then bring it back and I'll critique it. And so I carved it and brought it back to him, and he held it up and he looked at it and he said, oh, wow. And I'm like, oh, and he said, I am a really good carver. You really suck. And he's like, you shouldn't do this. You're just horrible. And I didn't. I kind of like tail between legs, retreated from any sort of carving for years as a result of that. So, yeah, getting beat down, but you know a lot about that.
Yeah, mine was, you should go to the kitchen.
Yeah, that's bad woodworking.
That's bad woodworking, except that I do like to bake. So, mine was probably, don't finish your PhD, stay with the magazine.
Was that for me? Ow.
Actually, it was the right advice. That was great advice. My question is, how do you get good? How do you progress to the next level? Any tips, thoughts, or what you would have done different in your development would be very helpful.
Do you want to take a...
I am just going to guess for a second at Chris's answer, and he is going to say, practice your joinery. And no? Okay. Because I have found in teaching that, okay, well, I thought I knew you. I just don't know you anymore. I have found that people, especially in the beginning when they're starting out, like to leave with a finished product. So you can say, look what I built. So my answer is that you should start with simple projects and build stuff. And because when you show it to people, even if you know it's not perfect, they're going to be impressed, which is going to make you feel good about yourself, which is make you going to keep doing it. And so I like to practice and have people practice by building a piece of furniture. But we do warm up on joints in classes. And so that is practice in the process of building.
Yeah, I believe in warming up.
Yeah.
And I do that all the time. Mm-hmm. But practice just for practice. I'm going to go against what everybody says on the internet. If I did it, I'm going to learn to cut dovetails. And so I'm going to cut a dovetail every day for 30 days.
Well, and I did that too.
Yeah, I did that too. But
that's just a month though.
I'm not as high on practice as some people are. As a musician, a former musician, ex-musician, whatever, I know that how practice is important. But I'm also playing a song. I'm not just playing scales when I do it. So I say, build something for the shop, like a nail cabinet or a bench or a jig or something that's not for
a tool chest.
A tool chest, yeah. Something that's for the shop that doesn't have to be perfect and say, you know what, I'm going to do veneering on this and it's going to look like, a dog's dinner, but I'm going to do it. And then you actually do it and you have some skin in the game. Taking a class is the other thing. I know I love this virtual stuff, but really I connect best with people, and I have been connected with, which is a weird sentence to say, in a one-on-one, person-to-person, that's where I've learned the fastest, and the stuff's got in really, really good.
Yeah, because when I was mortising wrong, you would tell me, and you would say, come around and stand here. And without somebody telling me I was doing it incorrectly in a nice manner and gently correcting me, I wouldn't now know how to do it properly. So that does help.
The quick correction.
Yeah, you don't know what you're doing wrong if you're doing it by yourself in a basement shop.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I? Combination planes. I'm starting my first project that requires rabbets and grooves, but don't yet have plans to do these. Beating aside, are there factors I should consider to help decide between two dedicated planes versus a single combination plane?
Dedicated planes are always going to be better. I normally would tell people to hold out for dedicated tools. Multi-tools generally don't do one thing really well. One of the exceptions is the Stanley 45. If you can find a good old 45, that'll give you some experience with, it'll be a nice plow plane, even if you don't use it for anything else. But you can start to rabbet with that, and it'll work fairly well. And it'll do some beading, but that'll only work in soft woods. But you can find a Stanley 45 for pretty cheap, and they're really good tools.
Is there a contemporary analog to it?
Well, I mean, Lee Valley makes one, but it's really expensive. You can buy a Stanley 45 for less than $100 with a couple of cutters. And so that's where I would start.
All right. When I see mortises being drilled on chairs and stools, you, meaning you, Chris, never seem to back up the exit hole with scrap. Do the bits you use really come through without spelching? If so, is it a function of their sharpness, design, or both?
I do back up with most like when I'm drilling through the seat. And I do still get some
Through the arms, too.
Not anymore. Not with
the new bits.
The new bits, which I'm going to talk about, the Star M bits. I do back up for the seat, but I also I am going to get some breakout on the seat side, but that's usually going to be cut away when I travish the seat. Bye, Megan. And but the Star M bits we use for I think Megan's going to get my set. Yeah. These you can buy at Workshop Heaven. Workshop Heaven will post a link, and it was in the gift guide this year. But these can go through an arm or a seat without leaving any real spelching. It's because of the geometry and the sharpness. The downside to these bits is that they also cut not only at the tip, but the flutes also cut. So if you tilt, if you move the bit as you are drilling, you will elongate the hole really easily. And that's the kind of learning curve with them.
I'll put these back in a second. How would I turn one of your Welsh chairs into a Welsh rocker? Specifically, how would you shape the rocker itself? Any formulas? From Steve.
Hi, Steve. I've never built a rocking chair, so I'm the last guy to talk to. And I even wrote a blog entry about it that got me some real heat. I'm not a big fan of rocking chairs, and that's a personal problem. I have a lot of personal problems, but there are lots of people who can point you to adding rockers and how to shape them. I mean, it's done on the bandsaw, and then you can finish it off with a spoke shave, or some people will use a compass plane.
Or if you're feeling fancy, you can do a bent lamination, stack lamination like Jeff Miller does. Yeah,
there are some people who really do rocking chairs really well. Jeff Miller is somebody, his book on chairs and chair design would be a good place to start.
Yep. I don't like rockers either. I don't
really?
Nope. I don't know if I picked that up from you or if it's intrinsic in my own psyche. What are some good books, videos, information on high-end finishing techniques, not applying a finish, but putting curves on things and making them feel nice to the touch?
Kind of taking your work up to the next level.
Taking your work up to the next level.
Kind of surface finish and shape.
Yep. I'm editing here as I'm reading.
Some of your questions came in
really long,
and we read them. Yes. I would say there aren't books on that, and you can read James Krenoff and get some ideas and thoughts about it, about the mentality, but the best thing to do is, and I sound like a broken record, is to take a class. When I was teaching with David Savage at Rowden, I watched them teach the students there, and they take the students to just this insane level of perfection. And what I saw there is something that you don't see at schools, whereas the student would be shaping the work and very conscientiously working on a drawer for an hour, then take it to the instructor, and the instructor would say, got a bump here, 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 and here, mark it, take it back, go back, and they would just keep doing that, keep hitting the wall until they hit perfection. That's how you have to do it. And having somebody with that eye who can tell you where you're going wrong, that's how I did it. It's kind of like when you play tennis, you play above your play people that are better than you.
You play tennis?
I used to play racquetball.
I didn't know that. Do you guys, on that note, miss having people in the storefront for events and classes? If you had your druthers, what proportion of your time would you spend with the woodworking community as opposed to working on your actual LAP projects? And does that preference differ between you and me?
You first.
Me first. I miss people more than Chris does. Well, I don't know if I miss people. Hello. I don't know if I miss people so much as if I miss teaching. I guess that's people. I like teaching. I always meant to be a teacher. Well, not always, but since about age 25 on, I knew I wanted to teach something. And for a while that was English. For a little while that was Shakespeare. Now it's woodworking. So I miss passing on knowledge to other people, and mostly because it teaches me what I don't know. And I like doing that. Also, it's an excuse to go out and drink bourbon more than one night a week.
Yeah, I got into writing so that people didn't have to see my face or hear my voice, I'm a very much a recluse, and it's very difficult for me to do. I mean, this is actually becoming a little easier just because I can't see anybody.
I don't count.
No, you don't, nor does Bean. But I know that teaching and interacting with people is really healthy, and not just mentally, but as a craftsperson, because what Megan just said is that you may think you know your stuff, but you don't know it until you have shown it to other people in the world and they've taken you down a notch or reacted like you hoped. And so you have to test yourself out in the real world. And so I do it very reluctantly.
And rarely now.
Less so, but I'll be around. we are very much looking forward to opening the doors to people,
true.
And because it's fun.
It is fun. Before I get too much older, I was going to answer this one on the blog because it takes probably more words than we have time for here. But I want to publish a book. Will Lost Art Press give some advice and critique to help an author get a manuscript written? And how does one go about requesting this?
Yeah. We're good editors and we're good writers, good publishers, I would say, decent woodworkers, but we don't teach writing.
Well, I did.
I don't.
I did. I don't now.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Well, it takes special skills to teach someone to be a writer. And we do coach our authors, but we're not the right people for that.
Nope.
I would get a subscription to Writer's Digest magazine, start reading that. And there are a lot of really good books on writing. Get Stephen King's book on writing is fun. Yeah. And that's a good way to get started. And
also, BC Dryer's word by word? No, Dryer's English. That's it. Dryer's English, one of my favorite new books on words and writing. Yeah, I don't think you've read it.
No.
Yeah.
Join a writers group in your area. That's what my stepfather did. And, they meet for coffee and they critique each other's work. And that was very helpful to him. And I never had the guts to do it.
Yeah, we used to do critiques all the time when I was in graduate school, and while they were painful, they were really helpful. I just don't have the time to devote to that now because I'm so busy doing other stuff. But if you do want a writer, an editor for your writing, either a developmental or a copy editor or what have you, there are organizations such as ACES, ACES, which is the American Copy Editors Society, I believe. But they have online a list of thousands of editors that you can hire, and some of them mention their expertise, and so that's a good place to start. So.
Yeah.
But as far as submissions to us for manuscripts,
we're
by us I mean him.
We don't really do things like a traditional publisher. We're more out looking for what we want or finding the people that we want. Very few of manuscripts that come over. We don't encourage manuscripts really because we just have so many. We have so much work. I have 10 years of work kind of piled up in front of me right now. And so I'm not saying we're close to it, but it's just not a priority.
It would really have to blow us away to stop the 10 years worth of projects we're already working on and slot that in.
Yeah.
It's not to say you couldn't blow us away, though. See, now I've spoken too much about this. That's why I was going to answer online. I have some questions about shipping furniture to clients. Do you have tips on building crates? How do you arrange for LTL shipping? And how much does it end up costing, say, for a dresser? So we can call that a tool chest, so we can answer it.
I've shipped dressers.
Have you?
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah, we build crates with 5mm ply that is reinforced by 1-inch by 1-inch battens out of white pine, and it's all screwed together with drywall screws. I think there's a blog entry about it that shows how we do it. LTL you can arrange online. We use YRC, and we also use occasionally FedEx Freight. And you can drop it off at the depot to save money, or they can come and pick it up. You have a wide variety of choices as to how to do it at both ends, as to whether there's a liftgate delivery or not. Shipping LTL is surprisingly economical for, I think.
If people live near or in a large city.
Yeah. So it's funny. If I ship something to Los Angeles, it might be $200 for a chair or $300 for a dresser, LTL. But if I ship something to, somewhere in Idaho, it might be twice that, just because there are more transfer points.
Unless it's Boise.
I've never shipped to Boise.
Well, I haven't either, but generally there are depots in large cities, so it makes it cheaper.
Yeah.
Solid wood drawer bottoms are often shown set into a groove that is narrower than the thickness of the drawer bottom, and the bottom is beveled so it can fit the groove. Why is it beveled instead of rabbeted? It seems like a beveled base will get loose if it shrinks and will wedge into the groove and stress the wood if it expands.
Well, I use a rabbet on my drawer bottoms, and I think a bevel it works fine, because usually the grain direction is such that it pushes out towards the back, so you don't really have shrinkage and expansion in the thickness that's too much of a problem.
And the back usually runs under the bottom usually runs under the drawer back, and then it's pinned in place. So.
Mm-hmm. And which allows the bottom to expand and contract. My thought on why they were beveled is that it was just kind of donkey work, and it's something you could give an apprentice to do. You could give an apprentice a mullet and a jack plane and have them bevel off all the drawer bottoms, and instead of rabbeting, which takes a little more skill. Just my thought on that.
Yep. I'm building a walnut dining table, and I experienced some tear out around small pin knots while using my 4.5. What can I do to avoid this? I usually, if I run into really bad problems, I'll sand. I don't have a problem getting out a random orbit sander if I need to get it out the door. I'm not going to torture myself. Right.
But I can handle about 99 point whatever percentage by using a tool that has really sharp iron, a freshly sharpened iron. The chip breaker is right up on that, just a few thou away from the tip. And a very light cut, and then sometimes I'll scrape, but sometimes with pins, you can little pin knots, you can break them out. Mm-hmm. You can also try putting a little shellac on problem areas that will stiffen up the fibers and see if that will help. Sometimes that prevents the pin knots from popping out. But get out the sander. It's okay. I mean, they're not expensive, and there's no shame in it. And really, or live with the tear out, which is also a totally valid way to do it. I have some projects that have tear out on them, and it's just part of what the piece is.
You wouldn't recommend using a smaller plane?
Yeah, I don't use a 4.5. I think tabletops are easier to finish with a really small plane,
which sounds counterintuitive, but I agree.
Oh, it's so much easier. It doesn't follow the hills and valleys. It gets in there,
right.
And so
and it doesn't have to actually be flat. It just has to look flat. So.
Correct, and that's why a little plane is just ideal for that. So the smoothing plane, I would use a number 2 if my hand would get in there.
I do use a number 2. All right. One question I had was for an average hobby woodworker who is trying to focus on hand tools. Let's say that I have an ATC full of the tools from the book, What power tools would I need in addition, if any? From Steve.
You can answer that. I'm going to check our sound just to make sure we're, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you answer this one.
All right. Well, there is a chapter in the book, the ATC book, on what power tools you should have. But for me, that's going to be a bandsaw because I can do most of my power cuts with a
Did that look weird?
That did look weird. Most of my power cuts with a bandsaw. And then my second one would probably be a thickness planer because I can plane one side flat by hand and then use the thickness planer to take it down to thickness. I don't want to expend all that energy. I mean, I should. It'd be a great weight loss program, but I don't have that kind of energy left in me at my age to take things down to thickness by hand. So I would have a thickness planer. Third one would be a jointer, I think, because then I don't have to flatten one side by hand. I can. Let me point that out. I can, but
I think you need a panta router and a wood rat.
Yeah? Okay, moving on. I thought you were going to say a side boring drilling machine, whatever.
A side boring drilling
I
machine?
can't remember what those are called. Horizontal router or horizontal drilling machine. Yes, clearly you don't need that. I don't even know what it's called. Do you disagree with the ones I said?
No.
Okay. Wait, new page. This is going so well. We need somebody with cards out front. I'm building my first workbench, a smaller version of the anarchist workbench in Doug fir, and I had the idea of using half-lap dovetails to join the stretchers to the legs because they might be easier for me to make accurately than mortises and tenons because I'm still a beginner, and that joint seems like it would hold up. However, I can't find any historical examples of this joint being used for this purpose. Is that because it's a bad idea? Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey. There are tons of examples of half lap sort of dovetail joinery and on workbenches. And Will Myers uses it on his Moravian benches. I would say, yeah, go ahead and do that if you want to do that, but go for the mortise and tenon. This is the time to do it and get good at it. And if it looks a little wonky at the shoulder, who cares? It's a workbench. But a drawboard mortise and tenon joint, there is nothing better, and it's your workbench. So mortises are not that hard. They just look intimidating to a lot of people, and your first one's going to look awful. And even if it's too loose, the drawboard pin will pull it up. So I'd say skip the dovetail half lap, put that on something fancier, and just learn to do the mortising. Yeah.
Also, if it is too loose, you can add a wedge, and things do loosen up even after you mortise them, like the top of your workbench and mine at home, where it's basically a slab workbench. With seasonal movement, there is a gap there, so you knock a wedge in, plane it flat, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, or if your tenon's too loose, you glue a piece of scrap to it, and there's no harm, no foul.
Right. How do you find time to shift gears from dust and shavings to write? Writing takes time and attention, and I'm constantly impressed at the quality of the product you are putting out. I can't even read it. It's too embarrassing.
It's too nice.
Do y'all edit each other, or at least proofread?
Yes.
Sam.
Yeah, we do proofread each other.
Most of the time.
It might not look like
you can tell when we have it.
Right, you can, and you tell us.
Yes,
and we're so ashamed.
Really.
Ashamed. I am. I went to journalism school. You did journalism training too. And I know you're going to mock me here in a minute, but you learn to write really fast. And so writing is a kind of quick reflexive process for me. I have to do it every day. I practice at it. Practice isn't the right word. I do it every day. And you get really fast. Each blog entry, I try to give myself 30 minutes to write it. Yep. And that's, set a timer and work toward it and stop fussing so much and try to make your language lean and all that. So that leaves more time for woodworking, which is more excruciatingly, difficult, I think, than writing for me.
See, my writing training is different. I was trained to write academic papers, and I did do some journalism as well, but as a graduate student, I did academics, and there you want to make it as hard to penetrate as possible. So.
You mean my girlfriend did?
Oh, shut it. Oh my God, you've totally thrown me off. So I tend to use bigger words than I probably should, and it does take me a little bit longer to write than it takes Chris to write something. It's just a different style of writing. However, I have trained myself to not write like an academic for journalism, because we want people to actually read it. So
Yeah, just use words that you would for an 8th grader. And
I usually go a little higher.
Yeah. I never got past 8th grade.
I know, because you're a journalism degree.
Yeah. I have a master's degree.
You have a master's degree in journalism. I have a master's degree in Shakespeare. I get 2 pinkies.
2 pinkies up, woman.
What temperature range do you suggest when using hot hide glue?
Whatever our hold heat does.
Yeah.
Which is,
like
I think,
140.
it's like 140. Yeah. A crock pot on low or a baby bottle warmer on low.
Well, they're saying hot hide glue, so you have to, same thing though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we also put the bottle of liquid hide glue, especially in the winter, in a bath in the same heater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all the same. I mean, it's hide glue. You want it all that same liquidity.
Yep.
Viscosity.
I don't know. Yeah. Nice. Underweight. When you put a breadboard end on a table, how do you get the seam between the boards to be level? I've used a plane on both pieces, and it always seems to me that I have to go the other way one more time. I finally resorted to using a sander.
Yeah, right. That was correct.
Yeah, there you go.
Good job.
Good choice.
You'll get better at it, and you'll be able to come in there with a scraper eventually. But if you're doing breadboard ends for the first time, sand them level. And
if what's going to breadboard ends for the 10th time, sand them level.
Yeah, and here's also what's going to happen is the top's going to cup, and it won't matter that you sanded it level because there'll be ridges there anyway.
Yeah, the first big project I ever made was my dining room table. It has breadboard ends on it, and it is perfect twice a year. That's about it.
Oh, that's more than most.
Once in the spring and once in the fall. So, I am building the field desk from the campaign furniture book. I am having a difficult time getting a smooth finish on the tabletop. I am using African mahogany. I am getting small breakout and tears on some of the grain, but not all of it. I should have put this together with the walnut tabletop one. And I have some marks left behind from planing. How can I avoid these problems? Rick?
First off, African mahogany is going to give you a lot of trouble. It's a real difficult wood to work. It's kind of the pallet wood of Africa. We see pallets for books made out of that. And so you're kind of making it hard on yourself by using that. It can be interlocked species. It can have row grain. It can have all the problems. It can be simultaneously too soft and too hard and all those things. So don't be afraid to do a little sanding at the end. We tend to think that sanding is wrong, but for most of this, the history of woodworking, the tradition was plane until you can't make the surface any better, scrape until you can't make the surface look any better with scraping, and then sand the two kinds of different surfaces together to prevent a unified surface.
No, to make a unified.
To make a unified. Thank you. To make a unified surface.
See, we edit each other.
That's once. That's how they did it. And there have been abrasives around forever. Abrasives have been around longer than cutting than hand planes. So I don't understand the masochism sometimes. And random orbit sanders are not expensive, or just learn to live with it, because if it's a field desk and you see some of those stuff and it was really rough and ready. So you can go either way with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump ahead to a question that's near the end. So hopefully I'll remember not repeat it. You mentioned African mahogany. A couple people have, as not being your first choice, a couple people have asked what are our favorite woods to use.
You can go first.
Cherry and walnut. Chris?
Walnut and cherry.
Okay.
No, I love oak. I love oak so much.
I do not.
Oh gosh, especially quarter sawn. But you can do so much with it, and it's so strong. And I love the smell. I mean, the smell of fresh red oak is so disgusting that I love it. It's like a skunk that's been killed. I just adore it.
I think it smells like cat pee.
It smells like horse pee to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I smell is the most intoxicating smell in woodwork to me. And people think it's foul, but I adore. So there's nothing about oak that I dislike.
Well, I like all three of my two species, and oak is a distant third because they're domestic hardwoods that we can get around here. I don't like importing things personally.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about, how those, if they were ethically harvested, and so I just sidestep it. The easy way to sidestep it is to
right.
use
That
our
may just be
domestic
my
species.
excuse to not use those hard interlock species that cost too much.
Yeah, there's an expense
there's
too.
An expense. Really, my favorite wood to use, though, not a hardwood, is sugar pine from California. Love that stuff.
Yeah.
It's really wide and it has very few knots. Okay, where are we? What is the minimum air temperature for applying the shop finish? And we should probably explain what the shop finish is. And can I take it outside when it's below freezing?
That's a question I don't really have a lot of technical answers on. What I do, the shop finish is equal parts low odor mineral spirits, boiled linseed oil, and varnish.
Yep, and I've put it on my bench once, and that was 11 years ago.
It is great finish, and you put on thin coats, wipe them off, and very difficult to mess up, though I'm sure you can. When we finish outside for the most part to reduce fumes, reduce VOCs, and all that. Whenever we finish outside, we make sure that the project is inside and warm. Then we'll take it outside, apply a coat of finish as quickly as possible. This doesn't apply to paint, which has, is water-based.
Yeah.
But if it is a solvent-based or it's sprayed, we do that outside, and then we bring the piece immediately inside. And that seems to work fine.
And we do that in the summer, too.
We do that in the summer, too, because the humidity level gets so high, we're going to get blushing with some finishes. So always finish outside to avoid the fumes and bring it inside to allow it to cure.
Yep. It helps if you have a friend, especially if there are multiple parts, because I'll run while he sprays and turn things around. I have one friend. It's him. Well, the only friend I've seen in a while, that's for sure.
Except for Bean.
Well, sure. But he's not very much help carrying things.
No.
Chris mentioned in an interview recently that y'all, I like all the y'alls.
I like all the y'alls trying to speak our language.
All y'all and all y'all, that's the singular and the plural. That y'all plan to do more children's books. Can you expound on that more? What sort of children's books and what age range, asks Stephen.
We have 2 children's books active in the works right now. One is about one of my heroes, longtime heroes, Henry Boyd, here in Cincinnati, who was an enslaved person who bought his freedom and became a very important furniture maker here with a lot of patents and inventions. And his story has just never been told and has been ignored. And so we want to do a book about him. I don't know exactly what age range that is going to be for. I would say, like 10.
Oh, you are doing a book about him.
About Boyd, yeah.
You said you want to.
Oh, we are doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are doing that. That's on contract, and we've got an author, and we're looking for an illustrator. And the other book we have, Kara Gebhardt is doing it, and it's on this Welsh oak tree that was cursed, and all the objects that were made from it. If you drank from cups made from it or anything, it would curse you too. Real lighthearted Winnie the Pooh stuff. Yeah. And, but it's about this oak, and I would say that's not young adult, but just, kind of 12-year-old scare the pants.
It's a fairy tale-y kind of thing. Original type fairy tale.
A Grimm's fairy tale kind of.
Where Cinderella killed her stepsisters.
Yeah. And stuffed their bodies into an oak tree.
Yes.
That's basically kind of what it is. But it was 2 brothers who were having a fight. And so if you liked the kind of oddness, but very specific woodworking detail of Grandpa's Workshop, that's where these are headed. These are going to have a lot of good, authentic woodworking detail. And the thing about the oak tree, the nano, I think I'm saying that right, oak tree, is that it takes place in Wales. And so we're going to get to see a lot of Welsh interiors and chairs and armbow hunting.
And we're trying to find a Welsh illustrator. Our illustrator lives in Wales for it.
Yeah, and we've got Welsh consultants and all that.
Yes.
So those are the 2 that we're aiming for. And the reason we're doing this is because we think that, getting kids thinking about woodworking even at an early age is important. You know,
But you and I both love the David Macaulay books.
I probably might not be here if it weren't for
Yeah,
David
me
Macaulay
either.
books. I'm just obsessed with check them out every week at the library.
How to build stuff like castle and cathedral and city and
Pyramid.
underground pyramid. God, I love those.
Yeah, I still have copies of them.
Yep, they're right behind us there, I think.
I think, yeah, they have a special section. So you can't overstate how important children's books are.
Right.
Period.
Okay. I would appreciate hearing wisdom. You kept the wrong place. We're done.
This is the part that dispenses wisdom.
About grain direction when laminating something like a 2x5 inch SYP into a Roubeau or Roubeau-like top. Should the 2x12s be, or when you cut them down, 2x6s, I guess, 2x5s, be as close to flat sawn as possible or a quarter sawn?
Choose one or the other. So we're talking about flat sawn or quarter sawn as they look on the edge. And if you do combine flat sawn and quarter sawn, you'll have some up and down seasonal movement. You'll have little steps that appear. Not a big deal because it's a workbench. Right. But if you are real concerned about flatness, you try to get them all the same or mostly the same, and you'll be fine. But eventually, that up and down ends. It stops. After 5, 6, 7 years, and pretty much it stops moving.
But you're going to have some movement of some kind or another, no matter what you do.
And you're going to have to flatten it, no matter what you do. But if you want to be persnickety, pay attention to the edge grain and try to make them all the same. But you'll end up throwing out a lot of wood.
What one act of woodworking, for example, planning, planing, sawing, scraping, pounding, finishing, etc., gives you the most pleasure in creating a piece? Asks Larry.
What gives you the most pleasure in woodworking?
I like finish planing.
You like finish planing?
Yeah, I don't know why. I also like painting if it's going to be a painted project. I paint a lot of his pieces because it's fun. I know that's weird.
Yeah. I like the active design process the most, the problem solving and the gear shifting as you work through a project. I don't just work to the print, when I'm working on something that I'm trying to develop a design, especially the prototyping phase is just my favorite. As
That's true.
Yeah. I just really bore in on that.
Here's a little secret. I've never built something to the design. Well, that's not true. I do the tool chest now. And I think Chris may have done this once or twice too. Our projects that appeared in Popular Woodworking, we would build them first and then do the drawings.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you can't build the plans.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, anyway. Shh, don't tell anyone. When draw boring, and also in general, but particularly with the kind of massive joints involved in a timber frame workbench, do 2 pegs per joint rather than just one confer appreciable advantages?
If it's a huge joint, like if it's something, 8, 10 inches wide, like a timber frame, yeah. But in a small, like 3 or 4 inch joint, you're actually going to weaken it because you've taken away a lot of material and created a stress for the end of the tenon to pop off when you draw bore it, which can happen. So in workbench scale stuff, I would probably just use one.
All right, okay. 11:56.
Okay, 4 more minutes.
Four more minutes.
It's the lightning round.
It's the lightning round. I'm trying to find a good one to end on.
Things that you find in a Sears.
Ooh. I don't know. There aren't any left.
Everything you can see, touch, feel, think about. Things you find in a Sears.
I am a hybrid woodworker, but have been incorporating more hand tools. What hand tool do you recommend for a hybrid woodworker that they might not own?
Router plane.
Me too, router plane. By the way, the ones that we haven't got to, I'll probably use as blog fodder. So do check if we haven't answered your question. I hope to eventually answer your question or have Chris do it. In your new book on chair making, what are some of the tools that you find yourself using the most?
You're going to be using, most of the work is done with a jack plane and a block plane, brace and bit, and a corded drill. I'd say those are the most important tools. the book is intended to have as few chair making tools as possible. So get a good jack plane, get a good block plane, and you'll have about half the toolkit set up.
And on that note, let's end with Chris doing some actual work. A couple people have asked how you can make a stick round, and they have also asked how you use that weird thing at the end of this workbench. So let's combine those two, and you can show people both of those things.
Okay.
All right.
So I have some sticks here, long and short, and this is one that is kind of in the middle, some N-ash back stick. And you can see how it goes, I hope, from octagonal to round. But the way I do that is with this, which is shown in Hugh Lowe, a 18th century French source.
You're about to sit on your block plane.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm going to start with a jack plane, and you can start with it octagonal, like this is, or you can start with square and turn it octagonal. Turn it up with a cradle, and so you take pretty big bites.
And what are the different steps for in that appliance?
Different size work. So if I have a bigger leg, I'll use this step down here. I've never actually used this step. I can't imagine what that would be. But you just and you can see I'm also tapering this. So what?
You're also putting shavings into the cat tub.
Oh, sorry, Bean. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the arises. You don't want to hit the flats with this thing. So I'm rotating until the blade finds an aris. And you can see I'm getting some tear out there. I don't care. I'm going to come back and clean that up later with a block. But I'm trying to not find flats. I'm trying to find arises and remove them. And so you can see we're getting pretty roundish here. Ooh, we're really getting into the really good tear out stuff. Now, if it were really nasty, I would flip the work like this. And but you can come back and clean up little bits of tear out. And this isn't quite round where it needs to be, but we are running out of time, of course. And so then I will come in with this, and if I need to bring this shoulder down to the tenon more, I can do that with taper cuts here, but I will use the block plane, and I'm skewing it radically, so I'm not introducing the sole into it. I'm using it kind of like a mini draw knife, actually, or push knife. I'm not drawing it, to clean up any final arises. And this is how I make all my sticks, and with some of them I even like to leave this octagonal part and then have it transition to round, which is a very traditional look for old chairs. Yeah, so that's how it's done. Try it. It is so freaking easy. You don't need a shave horse. You can do this on your bench. You can just put a block of wood into the face vise, or if you have a high vise, that's a good way to do it. Or add a little block stop to your saw bench and give it a try, because it's so much fun. I just love to sit here and do that. So
you don't actually need a lathe.
You don't need a lathe. You don't need a shave horse. That's the other thing with this book, is it's going to be like this. A little stop is going to be what you do most of your work against, and trying to keep it real simple.
Because we are real simple.
We are simple minds.
That's what we're
This is MTV, and we have simple minds.
That's what we'll end on.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We will hopefully try this again with better sound, of course.
Yeah, and we'll apologize for it then, too.
And we'll apologize for it, because the sound can always be better. Right, Ben Strano? Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a good Saturday, and I hope this was not awful.
And mildly entertaining.
Yeah. And with that, I'm taking my pants off.
Bye.